What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping in with a very exciting Destiny 2 Witch Queen video, because Bungie have just released their new D2 Vidoc, The Light in the Darkness, where developers jump in and talk about Witch Queen, so we get more conversation about Savathun, the Witch Queen destination, but also more insights on weapon crafting, the Void subclass updates, various new rewards, and activity content, plus for the first time we get more information about Season 16 and the content that will launch alongside the Witch Queen expansion. So we are going to break all of it down inside of this video, guys, and as always, if you're new to the channel, definitely get subscribed as we've got a lot of Witch Queen and D2 content to discuss over the next few weeks. But without further delay, let's dive in and talk about what they revealed today. And so starting out in the Vidoc today, Bungie talk a little bit about some of the story content, and initially we do see some really cool cinematics that are obviously going to be part of the Witch Queen, and also very obviously are on Mars, which we now know is going to feature as an important destination for the expansion. So the cinematic portions look really cool. But on top of the cinematics, we get a bunch of really neat gameplay from the campaign, and the developers speak about how they're paying off major story threads. Of course, some of it going all the way back to Taken King and original Destiny, but as we can see from the cinematic content, there is going to be a lot of Hive-related lore as well, so really exciting looking stuff, and they say this is the most ambitious kind of campaign content that they feel they've launched for Destiny. Really neat seeing those worms coming out of the sea on what is potentially a Hive homeworld right there. And then they speak about Savathun a little bit. Once again, they're showing off more Mars stuff and cinematic content, but they also show some Season of the Lost stuff and the Curse on the Dreaming City. We know there is going to be a finale that kind of ties immediately into the launch of Witch Queen, which feels quite likely to happen this week, and they tease some cinematic stuff linked to that in there as well. And then they show off a bunch of really cool Throne World stuff here, and they speak about the relationship that naturally exists between the Throne World and Savathun, and how it is a manifestation of Savathun's mind. Some of the cinematics they show off are really cool, but they speak about the presentation of the destination as well, the palace that we see, and this really incredible architecture, but they say it gets more unsettling the deeper you go, and there's this kind of falseness in what you see on the outside of the palace versus what's inside. They also speak about how in the campaign, there's a very detective-like element, and we can see the bounty board on Mars here as well. Plus you'll see a bunch of new weapons in the background, and we can also see some of the puzzles that we're going to find. And the developer said you feel like you're almost unlocking your way through the different areas by discovering and figuring things out, so that's really cool, and there definitely is that Dreadnought-esque element there. Another thing worth mentioning is that they show the map for Savathun's Throne World, so on the left-hand side we can see the Enclave, that's where we're going to do weapon crafting stuff. But there'll also be a section where we can replay missions, as well as launch the legendary campaign. We can see that's got a recommended power level of 1360. And then the other two zones that we can spot are the Quagmire and Fluorescent Canal. Plus there appear to be internal sections to Savathun's Throne World, kind of like what we saw on Titan, on the right-hand side there, which are bound to be where we'll find some of the secrets. There's also a really cool screen for launching the legendary campaign right there too. But moving away from Witch Queen content for just a moment, they speak about Season of the Risen, which is going to be Season 16 alongside Witch Queen. And so immediately we've got some really cool cinematics, and we can see Cabal ships with the colors associated with Kaitl's Legion. There's also a clip of Crow right here, who appears to potentially be in the tower hangar, but they say Kaitl is going to be helping us out in the fight against Savathun, and should be providing weapons and muscle. That means the content that we see in Season 16 will have a very strong narrative tied to Witch Queen. Also looks like Lord Saladin could be a bit more involved in some of these cutscenes here, where we see Zavala, Crow, Saladin, the Guardian, and Kaitl. And they also show off some really cool zones when talking about Season 16 as well. So very much looking forward to seeing more about Season 16, but they move on to talk about Hive Guardians primarily for a moment, and they say they're much more relentless than other enemies we've fought, and especially with that legendary difficulty, they say there will be some of the most dangerous enemies we've had so far. And of course there is that mechanic where we need to kill their ghosts, and we get plenty of footage of all of that stuff. As well, of course, as glaives. There are some really cool looking ones. We know that we're going to be crafting them. They talk about how they fire projectiles, as well as melee attacks, and can also shield, so they're pretty versatile weapons. And that's without the additional bonuses that we're going to see on some of the exotic ones. There's a section here where they speak about the glaive, but also crafting in general for other weapons. Definitely worth watching, so let's check out this section in full.
When you put together your glaive in the campaign, you just get a taste that that's what you want to do for the rest of the weapons that you get.
Weapon crafting lets you target a specific role and go and build that, and you know how long it's going to take you to get there, and you get exactly the thing that you want.
I really want to see what people do with it, and like the feedback that we're going to get, and people sharing all of the things that they're doing with that new system.
You're creating your Guardian, and you want to be able to shape your Guardian into what you want them to be. And this gives us a great opportunity to continue to do that.
And so there we actually got our first look at some of the menus for crafting. And we can see that there's almost a crafting collection where we can view the craftable weapons that we've got unlocked. And then a selection screen with the trait perks and a kind of drop-down menu where you can look at the different potential perks in a weapon slot. And this is on the Enigma, which is one of the new glaives. Also interesting is that this menu has some interesting stats like shield duration, and it shows how different perks will affect those stats. So that's a really cool looking weapon right there. And we can see it's an adaptive glaive. A hybrid melee and ranged polearm with a frontal shield generates energy on dealing ranged damage. So that looks pretty awesome. And then there's a section where they show the exotic stuff, and we're going to be crafting Osteostriga, the new SMG for Witch Queen. And so it looks like there'll be some perk selection there, but also we can see some of the crafting materials as they shape the weapon. So there's resonant alloy, as well as glimmer, neutral element, ascendant alloy, and ruinous element. So there will be quite a few materials associated with some of this stuff. And then separately on the front of exotics, they say we're going to get 8 new exotic weapons, as well as 6 exotic armor pieces, which is going to be pretty awesome.
This is a really big season for weapons in particular. We've got 8 brand new exotics. The Osteostriga exotic submachine gun. This is something which Guardians have made, but it's modeled after weapons of sorrow, like Thorn and Touch of Malice. Fires swarms of tiny homing projectiles that land on a target and then explode in this poison burst. We have an exotic machine gun where the whole idea is be the Colossus. You can launch a barrage of up to 20 homing missiles.
It's a comical amount of projectiles on the screen.
We're doing an exotic glaive for each class this time, and the exotic perks tie deeply into the mechanics of the classes. I think they're going to be really cool additions to build crafting. We've got, the usual suite of raid weapons, destination, activity, seasonal. I recounted it this morning, and I think it's about 50 new weapons.
You're going to have 2 new exotic armor for each class, totaling 6, 1 stasis, 1 non-stasis. The Titan stasis exotic. Cast your barricade, and instead of, this Traveler's Light and the Rally Barricade, you create a giant wall of ice. Even though this thing is massive, you still get all the benefits of a Rally Barricade. Warlock Void exotic, we called them the Devouring Rift legs because we wanted Empowering Rift to feel like it had a place in endgame content the way that Healing Rift does. Empowering Rift doesn't heal you, well, what if it did?
And then they speak about Void 3.0, and we get some really cool previews, so this is another section worth checking out in full.
In Season 16, you're going to see a massive revamp to the Void subclass systems across all 3 classes. This is a huge update and will allow players to build craft in ways that they've never done before.
One of the things we wanted to do is create a core set of verbs like we did with Stasis.
Anyone can run suppressors now. I think that's the pretty cool thing to be able to do.
I'm going to be running suppressor grenade probably.
We wanted you to feel like you were the energy vampire, feel like you were the Night Stalker, feel like you were that protector, that big Sentinel Titan. So you're going to see things like Bastion, a new Titan aspect, where you take your big old Sentinel shield, slam it into the ground, and create this Void Barricade that's going to apply overshield to you and your buddies.
My favorite aspect is probably Child of the Old Gods. As this warlock controlling space and time, I'm able to rip a hole into another dimension and then pull out this little sentient black hole. Whenever I target an enemy, my little black hole buddy is gonna fly over there and start draining their life force.
The Void 3.0 update is really setting the stage for how we're thinking about updating the subclasses for the rest of the year.
We're going to extend this philosophy to Solar and Arc. Solar obviously is going to be about burning, but there's this other component to Solar, and that's healing. Arc is all about chaining. It's all about lightning, direct attacks, quickness. We're going to take the fantasies that you know and love today. We're going to embellish them. So what you'll see is all of the new abilities, all of the new actions you take, reinforce that to the core. Pretty excited about it.
It's really awesome to look at some of the menus right there, and some of the examples of aspects they gave. And we can see some of them here for the Voidwalker, like Echo of Exchange, where melee final blows grant grenade energy, and Echo of Remnants, where your lingering grenade effects, like Vortex Grenade, Void Wall, Void Spike, and Axion Bolt, have increased duration, and Echo of Reprisal, where final blows when surrounded by combatants grant super energy. It's going to be really cool to dive in and see more of those in game. And to round out the video with some more really cool gameplay and cinematic content that's running in the background, as well as teasing a little bit about the upcoming Year 5, and they say it's going to be some of the most content they've delivered over the course of a year. But for now, guys, that is the initial breakdown we have for the Vidoc they posted today. Let us know if you spotted any really neat stuff, weapons, abilities, or any potential secrets. But if you've enjoyed the video, a like rating below really does help us out on the channel. But also feel free to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with everything related to Destiny 2. But for now, thank you as always for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.